Hey, it's Marilyn Devonish here from transformationstm.com. And I don't know if you can hear the background noise. They're not drilling as loudly as they were a few minutes ago. But I have had this happen so many times, it's untrue. At one point I had, how long was it? It was probably a good 19, 20 months of daily drilling, and best part of 2.5 years with all the prep work beginning and end. And every single time I had a client, I kid you not, because the drilling work was right outside my living room window, which is just a few feet away. Whenever I would start a client session, even if it wasn't, because I used to go for lunch, but even if it wasn't a break time, lunchtime, the building works would stop and then probably restart 5 or 10 minutes after I'd finished my client session, no matter what time of day it was. It was the most bizarre thing. Now that building work has been over for almost a year. Today I did a client session. We started at 12:30, we finished at 2:30, perfectly quiet. 5 minutes later, some guys turn up and start digging up the road outside. And it's now 5:45. It is late. When the council are doing stuff around here, they normally rock up, you know, they put the signs up, they rock up pretty much first thing in the morning. Normally they're here by 8:30, and they're actually gone by about 4 o'clock, which I think is almost that sort of watershed time in terms of building works. But to turn up at 2:36 and still be here at 5:45 in the evening, I'm just like, that is just beyond weird. And I remember at one stage I was doing something when I had the building work outside my bedroom window, and I said to a client, "Oh, I bet 5 minutes after we're finished, they're going to start working again because they've been quiet all day." And she laughed. 5 minutes after we finished, they started working. So I phoned her up and I went, "Listen to this," and it was just, you couldn't hear yourself think. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Another reminder about the power of what I call synchronicity. And divine timing, because we haven't had any building work here for ages. I've got no idea what they're doing, but they've kind of cordoned off a part of the road and they are drilling and have been for nearly 3 hours now. But I'm just really thankful that they only started 5 minutes after I had said goodbye to my client. So for that I am truly grateful. And also, while we're on the subject of synchronicity, the client I was speaking to today has an incredible gift, a gift she has never told anyone about, a gift that she has never shared with the world. And I am running a webinar with her on the 8th of November where she's going to be doing this thing for the first time. I can't even really put it into words and do justice to it at the moment, but the way it feels as though this is the time for her to share this information. And I did a limited number of Power of 4 sessions. I offered them first to people on my e-newsletter list, and then when there are 2 places left, so I then put a post on Facebook, and she was either the first or second person to sign up. And she said today, "This isn't what I expected." And I always say to people, look, be careful what you wish for, and don't be talking about being out in the world and doing your thing and sharing your gifts and expect to do a session with me and not have that happen. And so on the 8th of November, we're going to do this thing. But in terms of the way, because part of it is channeled, that's the best way I can describe it. But in terms of it being the right time for her to do this, and in terms of that being the thing that came through in the Future Life Regression session that we did, which really all kicked it off, I would say it's another piece of synchronicity and divine timing. And I really, really, really do think that the world is kind of let me read, because she communicates with crystals. Now, I know sometimes people, they're crystal therapists and all the rest, and that's wonderful. However, this goes way beyond well, this is rose quartz and it does this, and this is, citrine and this does that. I've got a few bits here. So, a bit of citrine, a bit of labradorite. The rose quartz is just kind of round the back there. So I've got loads of crystals that are all kind of dotted about here, a bit of clear quartz, yada yada. And so people can often tell you the properties of that and what it technically speaking does. She goes to a level that I've never seen or heard before. And I've got a great big piece of labradorite behind me. It's about 19 inches in length, really massive, really heavy. For those of you who did the Practitioner Insider Secrets workshop at the weekend, you would have seen that on camera. But she communicates with your crystal, and your crystal communicates with you, and it tells you, tells you what it wants to tell you. So she did a bit of a reading for me today, because I said I want something to put in the copy when I'm putting the webinar together. I want to be able to give people a flavour of what they can expect. So this is part of the message from my bit of labradorite. She says it's from one beauty to another, and you know that you're beautiful, not in a vanity way, but in the beauty of your spirit, our spirit, because it's talking about both of us. So it's good for good grounding, and it's for people who come to me full of stress, anxiety, and lacking in clarity. The labradorite works with me gently in the background and very thoroughly, and we are both partners in crime in that situation, in helping that situation. There are so many colours with, and they said she, within her, and the diversity of those colours means we can work with a range of people, and we both get the opportunity to work with a wider group than we ever thought possible when I first started this work. The group of people I can work with is now very diverse. And then she says, well, how does that resonate? And I said, that resonates perfectly, because when I first started, I was working with people to get over broken relationships and working with people who are terrified of public speaking, and that's really where it started for me. Nowadays, I find it very, very difficult to articulate and explain what I do in a snappy sentence, because it's just, the diversity is beyond crazy. And when I just even line up a little bit of it, people are going, are you kidding me? So it resonated perfectly. And one of the, because I've got a massive owl, which is a similar sort of dimension, and she was saying they both work together. And one of the reasons I got the owl, it sits in front of the sofa where I used to see clients when I first started out. And my intention for that piece was that it would help me to hold the space and help me to clear the energy. And so when she was explaining also about their working together in collaboration, and that we're kind of all in it together, I was like, oh man, that is just freaking crazy, because that is exactly, and the labradorite sits behind me, and the way I always used to say it is like, it's got my back. Do you know what I mean? And I've never said that out loud to anyone, that's just how it played out in my mind. So to hear the message from that, and one of the things she said to me, because I said, oh, something, I said something like crystal reading, she went, no. What did she say? So she said, it's not the message from their crystal, it's their crystal taking the opportunity to communicate with them in a way they haven't had before. And after the webinar, they can continue the conversation, and it's an up-leveling of that communication. Seriously, and when it first came through, we did the Future Life Regression session, it got to a point where her voice changed, and I knew I was no longer speaking just to her, which, if you've never done this kind of work before, you're going to think, oh, Marilyn, you've lost your mind now. But at one point, I said, who are you? Because I knew I wasn't, it was a different conversation that was being had. And I'm just going to read you a little line, because I don't want to spoil what we're going to be doing on the webinar on the 8th of November. So I said, who are you? And it said I would describe myself as the earth from millions of years ago, when it was in deep, dark pain, and as it moves into lightness and joy. And I travel alongside, and I offer love. And then it went into this, just really, when she was talking, or when they whatever were talking, it was one of those goosebumps moments. And I know when it gets serious in terms of channeling and other things coming through, and deeper messages in someone's mix of conscious, unconscious mind, when we go beyond that, I can even tell from my writing, because now I'm barely forming the words, and it's pretty much all in shorthand. And it was deep. It was deep in terms of the things that came through and the information, and it's like, oh my God, and it almost described the trajectory of the world. So it's deep stuff, and I really do believe, as I was listening to her then talking from the place of the Future Life Progression session, And then to hear the message that I got today, the communication that was from my baby behind me, and you know, she said about the relationship between the two, and if I tell you how it started, you go, oh my God, that makes total sense. And the guy I bought it from all those years ago, I bought it just after we did the very first Mind, Body, Spirit Energy Fest. I bought it in the January follow, because the MBS Energy Fest runs the first weekend in December. And the toing and froing relationship between me and that crystal had extended probably for the whole 12 months prior to me getting it. Now she doesn't know all of that, but in terms of what she described today, I'm like, oh my God, that is so totally it. That's just mad. That's just mad. And so it's one of those things, you know, in terms of divine timing, in terms of synchronicity, I really feel that the time is right for this information, for those who are willing to go deeper. It's not going to be for everyone. And you might even be watching this video and going, man, this is crazy. In that case, I'll be saying, do not sign up. Don't waste your time. Go somewhere else. Do something else with your time. I beg of you. But for those for whom this kind of thing resonates, I think you're going to want to hear this. And when I, you know, often I'm saying, oh, this is a world first, because I just make stuff up and do crazy stuff that people have never done before. And this one truly is. Because when I was talking, and I said, oh, how long have you been doing this? Because she had said a bit about my owl, my crystal owl. And she said, oh, I've never done it before in terms of publicly. It's just something that she uses for herself to have communication with crystals and the environment. I'm like, let me get this straight. You don't do this. You've never done this. You've never spoken to anyone about it. Nobody's ever heard this information. She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, that's going to change, because it is just big. And I did ask, or when I said, who are you? I did ask about the whole thing about the, you know, because again, it's my conscious mind getting into it and going, oh my God, people need to know this. That's irrelevant. If she doesn't want to share it, or if the energy doesn't want to be shared, that's a whole different ballgame. We won't do it. And so during the Future Life Regression session, I said, I asked about it. Is it a good idea? Is this the right time? Did I write some of that down? I think I did actually. Let me just, oh yeah, here it is. So I, you know, and they said there are many ways. One way is to have a visual seminar, as people do not see their crystal. She can help them see the crystal, and initially people will want to feel into their crystal. And so you can do a teleseminar, but that would be will be the next step. The most would be attracted to it, to their eye, because it looks pretty. But what we want to do is look deeper, kind of into the soul. And so they're all up for it. And then I'm a bit cheeky, because once we get enrolled with this dialogue, I said, when we do the teleseminar, would you be willing to join us? Because it was channeled. If any of you have ever sit with someone who channels, or gets kind of, you know, clairvoyant psychic downloads, that's the best way I can put it into you know, traditional terms, that you kind of get it. But if any of you have ever seen that in action, you know it's a whole different ball game. I guess if you watched, and it's not so apparent nowadays with Esther Hicks, because if you've watched enough of Esther Hicks, it's Esther, you know, in terms of you're just familiar with the way Abraham sounds. But when she first started channeling Abraham, there was a distinct moment where you could kind of see Esther step aside and Abraham come in, and the voice was different. The voice was almost slower, and the voice was labored. Nowadays it's very quick fire, which I love as well, but it's like that. So as soon as I call them they, as soon as they started talking, I was like, whoa, we're in another ball game now. This is like we've gone to another place. And so asking if they would be willing to join us. And again, it's going to be what happens on the day, because I've said to her, okay, what are you comfortable with? Would you be able to, actually, let me just check something, because we did this first session, I believe, on the 19th of July. Yeah, how crazy is that? When we did this session, I did not have the webinar platform that I had now, which is why I talked about doing a teleseminar, and they talked about doing a visual thing where we could see the crystals. I got the platform that I'm going to be using on the 8th of November. I got it on the 14th of August. So at the time, because when I'm reading, I'm going, oh well, I probably said a webinar because I wanted to do it, and I'm like, actually no, that is, it didn't. I didn't even know. I didn't even know the platform existed when we did this session on the 19th. I only got the big marker platform on the 14th of August, so that's nearly a month later. So that is just crazy cool. Because I said to her today that I think what it will be a really good idea is when we run the webinar, let's do it with a video webinar, because on that I have the facility to let people come on camera and they can then, you know, hold up their crystal, because she said it's not just about the crystal. It's about the shape of it, what the shape that it's been cut into in this lifetime, and the almost like the incarnation it's taken. And it's also about the refraction of the light, because she will get messages from that over and beyond, above and beyond. Oh yeah, it's rose quartz and it's fashioned into a little wand. That's kind of irrelevant from where she's coming at it. So I'm now just going, oh my God, I didn't even have the facility to do this, to do the visual when we spoke in July, but I said yes to doing it. And then it's somehow, by another sort of twist of fate and synchronicity, I can now do it in a very stylish and elegant way. So this story just gets better and better. I'm gonna have to let her know about that little distinction, because I was just thinking, yeah, of course we'll do it by webinar. Like, why is it making that distinction? But no, I've just realised I didn't have the platform then. I didn't even know it existed. So that is just doubly cool. So if you want to join us, I'll put the details in my e-newsletter list. What I've asked, because she's never done this before, I've asked if she can just put a paragraph or two together which puts it in her own words. I can fashion some copy out of what we've already done. And so I'll probably look at that next week. I've got a fair bit to sort out for myself this week. And the talk that I'm doing on Monday, oh yeah, if you want to join us, I'm doing a talk on creating content at the speed of light, which is how to go from random idea to finished product, whoosh, much like this. It went from, you mean you've never done this before? Okay, let's do a webinar. Or as I said, TeleSeminar back then, and then it's done. It'll be done. If I really wanted to, I could get this all sorted out today, but I want her words instead of mine this time round. So yeah, it's cool beans. So yeah, join me on Monday for the missing letter uppercase online business summit. It's free of charge. I'm going to go live at 7 p.m. on Monday the 10th of September, if you're watching this in real time. And that's all happens via their platform, and it's via Zoom. So if you want to join us, what I'll do is I'll put a link in the conversation thread of this video. So do sign up for that. So I've got to do the prep for that first, but once that's done, I will then set about putting this one together. I've said initially for the people on my list, I'm probably going to do a batch of complimentary tickets for those who are really interested and just kind of want to be there. So that's all going to be in my e-newsletter. And then we'll kind of talk about pricing and all of that stuff later. Because as I said, this is new. She's never, ever done it before. So the world has never heard this information. So keep an eye on your email inbox. As soon as it's ready, I'm going to email it out. And then she will do some live readings and live communication sessions on the night. And it will be really fascinating to hear from you guys what resonates, to hear the synchronicities that come through, because for me, I'm like, oh my God, that absolutely describes how the crystals came into my possession, and the purpose, if you want to put it in photo reading terms, my purpose for initially having them and getting them. And that is exactly what was reflected back to me today. And of all the things she could have said, why those? So yeah, it's cool stuff. So I'm really grateful that the drilling and building work did not start. And actually today it wouldn't have been that crucial, because the power of 4 is bringing 4, well actually 5 of my favorite modalities together. So last time round we did a soul plan reading, and then there's, you know, the soul plan realignment from there, which is like a guided meditation process. We did the future life progression session where you're going out and meeting your future self, and this is where all of this channeling and download happened about this information and about the crystal communication. So those are guided processes where ideally you want it nice and quiet so the client can just you know, go off into other realms. And so today wasn't that crucial. I was, you know, so we do the soul plan reading, the future life progression session, which is always beyond enlightening, and this one has, I think, opened up a whole new career for her potentially. Then the third thing we do is the angel tarot card reading, and then we do the Huna with a dash of access consciousness. So today was more active with the reading and all the rest of it. So it wouldn't have been a big deal if they were drilling and digging and bashing about out there. However, it is nice to have a quiet environment. So synchronicities all round. Mark the date and time in your calendar, Thursday the 8th of November. Going to be going live at 7 p.m. UK time if you want to find out more. And in terms of the initial invitations, they will be in my e-newsletter list for first dibs at registering and at taking part for what I'm sure is going to be absolutely freaking mind-blowing. And you know, the things that have come through from my clients during their future life progression sessions have been beyond incredible. I remember one of my clients, when I first started doing it a few years ago as part of my transformation program, they had a vision for the house that they would be moving into. It seemed random at the time, a white house on a hill, stone building with 2 entrances, one through which the public could enter. The following year, she found a house. She's like, Marilyn, look at this house, white house on a hill, stone building, 2 entrances, one through which the public could enter. And she wanted that because she wanted to be able to hold, you know, like coaching gatherings at her home. But she's got a family, she's got a husband and 2 kids. So she didn't want people trailing through the house. And the house and she's still living in it now, the house that she found a year after pretty much the future life progression session was exactly that, and it had the entrance so people could come straight in from street level and be in the space that she uses for the public gatherings. And you know, I've had crazy cool stuff like a client, we're doing a vision, it was about business and all the rest of it, and she sees a guy, she starts off by complaining that she's not visual, so she didn't think it's going to work. I was like, yeah, whatever, close your eyes, shut your mouth, let's just get on with it. I might have been slightly more polite than that, but I probably wasn't, because by then we were well into the transformation program. And so she had this vision of a guy. She said he's wearing a black suit, and then she says, no, it's not black, it's deep blue. At which point I'm giggling to myself because I'm like, this is the woman who's not visual, but okay, let's let it go. So he's wearing a deep blue suit, he's wearing a pink tie, matching handkerchief, shiny, really shiny black shoes. His name is Paul, he works with high net worth individuals. Great. This was all in the future life progression session. About 7 or so days later, it's late, I just happened to have my phone at that time on, and a message came up saying, can you check your notes? And it's like 20 exclamation marks. I'm like, all right then. So I get out of bed, because it was about 11 o'clock, get out of bed, I come downstairs, I check the notes, I open her email. She says, I've just been at a networking meeting and I was, you know, speaking and presenting about my product. This is a client who was terrified of public speaking when I met her, and she had a TED talk coming up. So we did some work around that. Since then, she has, when I say global, I mean as far afield as the Caribbean, Dubai, America. She has not only spoken in all of those countries, she has won awards for her speaking and her pitching and her presenting. So it's one of those, and her video is on the testimonials page on my website. I think it's either the photo reading page or the testimonials page. So she's got also, she presented, people are always blown away when she speaks and how amazing she is. And so she's at this event, the after party, and she says like a parting of the waves, and a guy makes a beeline for her. And as she says the first thing she saw was his shiny shoes, because she's seen them before in the future life progression session. She then looks up and she sees the color of the suit. She's now like, okay. She looks further up, she sees the pink handkerchief, my dad used to call it kerchief, and the pink tie. And she's like, oh my God. And then he introduces himself and he says, hi, my name is Paul. At which point her mind is being freaked as she's having this conversation, gives her a business card. So that's the bit she emailed me about. She then gets home and says, you're not going to believe this. She sends me the link to his website. To top it all off, the website, very simple, not like mine, which is like Busyville. And it basically had a couple of lines on it. But it said, hi, my name is Paul, blah, blah, blah. The next line, I work with high net worth individuals, at which point we're both like, oh, crazy. So that's how crazy and enlightening the sessions are. And so when this information came through that my client is going to be sharing with you on the 8th of November, I wasn't surprised, because I remember when I had a client who because on that occasion we've recorded it because we did the session on her TeleSeminar line, and I also make notes, you know, so I can feed things back, and when clients say something in the future I can refer back to what has happened and what we've cleared and what's changed. And her future self gave her this seemingly random process. I wrote it down. About 3-4 weeks later, we're doing another session because the transformation program was over a period of 6 to 12 months, depending on how long people wanted to work. And she's talking, she said, I had an amazing weekend, I ran a workshop, I cleared 3 figures. I'm like, whoa, amazing. She said, I just came up with this new idea. She starts explaining the idea, and I'm sat there and I'm like, I didn't say anything, but I'm like, I've heard this before. I've heard all of this before. So while she's talking, I'm like quietly going back through my notes, and then I found the page. So I let her finish, and I went, can I just read you something? And I read her what her future self had said, which is exactly the process she had just gone off and created, seemingly out of the blue. So I read her the paragraph, and she went, where did you get that from? I says, you said it in your future life progression session. She's like, did I? I'm like, yeah. At the time it came through, it just seemed like random stuff, you know. 3 weeks later, when it had taken a chance in, you know, in photo reading terms, we call it incubation, where you're going to absorb information at 25,000 words per minute. You're going to photo read a whole book in 5 minutes, which is a lot of data coming your way. But once it's in your neurology, you then take some incubation time, because in that moment, it doesn't all make sense to you. You've had your sense of purpose, but now your brain, your mind, your neurology needs a chance to sort all this data out and lay it down for you. And then a day or two after your incubation, that's where you get those what I call light bulb moments and those aha moments where suddenly it all makes sense. And this was exactly the same. It came as a download from another space, because, you know, one of the things I'm always doing when I'm doing the future life progression session is to get clients out of their head. And so there are a few suggestions I make to clients about do's and don'ts, because when I just used to let clients do free form, I found it wasn't hugely as effective as it could be. When I put those provisos in, it took things to a whole other level. And that's why my clients are often almost having the sense of channeling during those sessions, and they're unencumbered by their conscious mind. That's the best way I can describe it to you. And that's why oftentimes clients don't even remember fully what they've said, but you read something back and they go, oh my God, or the way that I like it, because, you know, I'm a hypnotherapist as well. So we kind of, I think the way I would describe it, you know, you have those things called bath bombs where you put them in the bath and you're tapping your feet and you're waiting, you're like, come on then, do something, and nothing happens. And then suddenly it's like, and you just get this wonderful release. And it's almost like time release information, because there's stuff that the client doesn't need to know right this second, but something will happen, or they'll find themselves in a particular situation, and then the information from the future self will come forth. And that is always fantastic and amazing as well, because in terms of, you know, just being in and of this world, the information that comes through is incredible, absolutely incredible. So, and all, as I said, very synchronistic in terms of describe the guy in the suit, pink tie, pink handkerchief, what are the chances of that? You know, a week or so later, you meet the very person with the same name, with the same job title, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Actually, I'm always saying to Ange, who has written a book on future life progression, I'm always saying I should write some of these case studies down, because they are mind-blowing. And I, you know, one of the kind of powerful things is getting people out of the way, because when you're trying to do it, kind of, you know, doing it with your conscious mind, you actually just naturally restrict yourself. But when you get yourself into that state where you're almost beyond yourself, the floodgates open, and the information that comes through is incredible. So yes, Synchronicity, I will say. So really exciting. Keep an eye on your email inbox if you're on my e-newsletter list for the invitation to this incredible event with the crystal communication. But as I said, that name does not do it justice for what you're about to learn. So yeah, cool. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'd even forgotten about the noise outside at this stage now, which is blended in, and that's what I had to do. And I had builders outside my my bedroom window every day. And they used to arrive, they started arriving earlier and earlier. They were not supposed to start until 8 a.m. And within a couple of months, they were crashing around at 7:15 in the morning, and they were supposed to finish at 4:30, and they were often there till 6 o'clock at night. But I had to then just use my hypnosis skills to just tune them out so I could do my meditations and all that kind of stuff. And so I'd forgotten about this lot until a second ago. But yeah, look forward to connecting with you all soon. For those of you who have crystals, have them to the ready. Come and join us on the 8th of November. And I can pretty much guarantee your mind will be blown in a good way. It's incredible. So catch you all very soon. Speak to you on Monday if you're joining me for the Missing Letter Uppercase Summit. Ah, yes. My brain is like, and tell them about the thing, because that's actually on Sunday. I'm also running a Huna and Angel Tarot video webinar. So the first one I've done is a video webinar. I normally run them as teleseminars, the Angel Tarot and Huna Big Clearing Call, but I'm going to do this one as a video webinar, running it this coming Sunday. So today, if you're watching it in real time, it's Thursday. So this coming Sunday, I don't know, I think it's 12:30 p.m, something like that. So just clicking into the afternoon for us in the UK, early morning if you're in the United States. And if you would like to join me, the link again for a complimentary ticket, as this is having a bit of fun with this new platform, the email dropped at midday today. So all of the details are in the e-newsletter. So click on the link, grab your ticket, and it will be wonderful to connect with you on Sunday. If you'd like an Angel Tarot card reading, or if you'd like to receive some of the Huna energy clearings, then check out the e-newsletter, and I will see you on Sunday. Yeah. Cool. So always lots happening. And for a roundup, because I'm always doing stuff, there's always new exciting things happening. Definitely subscribe to the e-newsletter, because with the Facebook algorithms, it's completely random now in terms of what people see. But if you like to be kept up to date, that's the way to do it. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for joining me. And if you know anyone who's into, because it might not be your thing, but you might go, oh, it's interesting vaguely. If you know anyone who's interested in crystals and you think they'd benefit from what we're going to be doing, then feel free to share this video with them, tell them about it. The more the merrier, because I think this is information that will be really, really valuable, not just on an individual level, but on an earth level, because crystals are of the earth. We're walking on them, even though we can't physically see them with the human eye at the level they're at. Hugely important stuff. So I think it's going to be way bigger than just a little bit of a message from a crystal. So I'm excited to see how this one unfolds. So I will catch you later. Bye bye.